One of my favorite words in Spanish is la ferrocarril. I like that roll of the R, and ferrocarril is railroad. Ferro is iron,
Oh
and
yeah.
and carril has something to do with road, the iron road. I mean, how cool is
Whoa.
that?
That's poetic, actually.
There I was in high school, la ferrocarril.
La
And when
ferrocarril.
yeah, when you learn a romance language, the nouns are masculine and feminine.
That's true. That's right.
So that was fun for me. I love that.
You
I
just
was
love
in
languages. You are such a
I
linguist.
do. I do. Such fun. So what's one of your favorite
Well,
foreign
you know what
words?
that made me think of was so I never studied Spanish. I studied German in high school,
Hmm.
and I ended up living in San Francisco for about 6 years. And of course, everyone thought I was Latina, and I actually had this one guy. This is an aside. I'll come back to the word, but the aside is I had this one guy at a little, taqueria where I was buying whatever I was buying, answer me in Spanish, and I didn't know what he said. He got upset at me. He was so mad at me that I did not know my mother tongue.
Oh my
He
goodness.
thought, you know,
He
I don't
thought
know
you
my
were
mother tongue.
Latina.
And I didn't even get what he was saying. Like, I just didn't understand. So I didn't even know why he was getting upset at me. And it took me a minute. And so anyway, I got my thing and got out of there because he was so upset that I wouldn't know my mother tongue. And I really just wanted to
Oh,
say to him, I know Hindi, I really do know Hindi, but I never went back.
isn't that funny?
But so anyway, I
Okay.
lived there. I lived in with housemates. There were three other women, so four of us lived together. One was a Latina woman. We had like, like the mixed household. It was me. There was a Chinese American woman. There was a Jewish American woman. There was a Latina woman, and the
Oh, that
four of us
covered
were
it.
living together. And I remember there was, I don't know what it was, if it was like a placemat. You know how you have those learning placemats where kids can learn words and there's pictures.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
I remember, and I might have this memory wrong. So if they're watching, I'm sorry. But anyway, this is what I remember. So on the placemat, there were, pictures and Spanish words. And so we had a Latina roommate who was fluent in Spanish, who we'd like try to like learn a little because I knew none. I knew none. And
Mm.
the word that I always remember from that is borracha. So borracha is a drunk, like a drunkard, and it had a picture
Of
of this
all
guy.
the
And I was like,
words
is
for
this for
you to
kids to
learn.
learn? Like, I don't, is this Matt for kids? Because it was this picture of this like, guy holding a drink and just like, and it was like, I don't know what I
Wow.
think of it now, but at the time I was like, why are they teaching kids that word? But anyway, we would go around calling each other borracha.
Borracha.
That was like one of the earliest Spanish words I learned. So how
Hmm.
bizarre is that?
Yeah. Well, the
But it
name
has
of
that
our
rolled
Spanish
R.
book.
Say
Hmm?
that again. It has. I was going to say it has that rolled R thing going for
I
it.
love that rolled R
Yeah.
because we don't have that in English.
Mm-mm.
It was so nice, so different. Um, the name of our Spanish textbook was El Camino Real,
El Camino Real.
the
Isn't that a
royal, the royal road.
isn't that a walk in Spain, like this many
Yes,
miles road?
yes, the
Because I have a
royal
friend who
road.
walked the Camino Real.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, when you learn a foreign language, you learn songs and
Yes.
poetry
Well, songs are such
and
a great way to
movies.
remember. Yeah.
Yes. Don Quixote. Oh my goodness, that was great. Whenever I hear on the radio now, when they play the three-cornered hat, I say, no, no, El sombrero de tres picos.
Oh my. Well, well, well.
Yes, yes. It is just so fun. Hmm.
If I had to go back and relive my life, I would have taken many more languages and
Yes.
gotten to the point of fluency. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
think it's something that I really connect to. I think it's a way to get to understand a culture better. You know, like you can
Yes.
go somewhere and be able to say even just a few phrases sometimes.
Even just the pleasantries, you are
Yeah.
so much more appreciated. I experienced that in China. When I went to China, before I went, I practiced the numbers from 1 to 10
Okay.
and then 100
Ooh.
because I wanted to be able to deal with the money, the
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
currency.
Because you were living
And
there. You weren't going for a
I
visit.
was going to live there,
Yeah.
right? Well, I knew a couple of, polite things like thank you and excuse me. And the Chinese people were so gracious. They says, "Oh, your Chinese is wonderful." And a cab driver said to me, um, "Nita Zhongwen Buzor, not bad."
Ooh, that's a high
That's a
compliment.
compliment. That's a high
Not bad.
compliment. He said,
Well,
"Nita
so when I
Zhongwen Buzor." I said, "All
like that's
right."
the best thing you could say to me. Not
That's
bad.
right. And all I was saying was please and thank you.
But it makes
You
such a
know,
difference,
it
and
does.
and
It's
to be
respect.
understood.
It's
It's respect.
respect.
It's
Mm-hmm.
respect. Not in a like not in a hey, look at me, I learned this kind of way, but just as a respect that I'm trying, you know?
That's right.
So when
And
I
I
go to
think that's
India,
what the French would appreciate when
exactly.
people go to France, because they complain all the time that people just speak English.
That's right. Don't even
It's
try.
so rude that they don't even
Try. Yeah.
try. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was going to say, so when I go to India and, so I was in India up until the age of 7.
Hmm.
So I can speak and understand quite a bit, but my vocabulary's, at a pretty young level. And I didn't learn to read and write when I was there because that
Oh,
hadn't begun yet. So I actually did that in college. I learned to
oh,
read and
good
write
for
Hindi.
you.
I mean, I knew, like I had learned the alphabet. So I could write
Hmm.
my name, I could write things, but I couldn't do it quickly. So I did that in college because I felt like that was something that was missing.
Oh,
So
then you can teach me.
oh
Yay.
yeah, and I try to teach my kids, but that's another story. But well, we can come back to that. But when I go to India, like my family tells me, people know I have an accent that doesn't sound local.
Mm.
So the best compliment I got was when I think I was like shopping in Delhi, and like just shopping for whatever clothes, whatever. There's a lot of street markets. So I
Hmm.
was on Janpat, which is one of these main street markets everybody goes to. Foreigners go and locals go as well. So I'm talking about whatever I'm trying to buy. There's some clothes. I'm trying to haggle the price a little bit, but also more just like, figure out what I want to get. And somebody thought I was from Bombay because my
Oh.
accent wasn't local. And I was like,
Oh.
I'll take it, like you don't think I'm
At
from
least
out.
you know I'm Indian. Yes, yes,
So I
yes.
thought, like those compliments, hey, I'll take it. It's like, okay,
Indeed.
you don't think I'm American. That's good.
Indeed. Yes. Well, remember we talked about me going to Brazil thinking I was going to speak Spanish.
Oh,
I
right,
mean,
right.
I knew that Portuguese was the national language, but I thought Spanish and Portuguese was close
Like close
enough
enough. Yeah.
that I would get by. And so I went into this store, a bookstore. Book in Spanish is libra,
Sure. Libra.
and music is música. So I wanted to buy um, a music book for my sister who was writing music. So, the book would
Your
have
sister's a
staffs in
musician.
it.
That's awesome. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was asking the young lady for a Libra de Musica. And she
Mm.
just looked at me very indignantly. And
What
I
the
was like,
heck are you
well,
talking
I'm
about?
sorry. I'm doing the best I can. And I mean, it's like a difference of a vowel.
Mm.
And they wouldn't give an inch.
So what was
She
it supposed
finally gave it to me. I finally bought the
Mm.
book that I wanted, but she was not going to give my language the respect, even
Okay.
though I was trying,
You were trying.
Like,
That's a
you
tough
cannot go to Brazil and try to speak Spanish. They will not like
they will
you.
not, they don't want it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to, the thing is Spanish and Portuguese are probably as close as English and like German.
I mean,
So
they're right next to each other on the
yeah,
planet, on the
yeah, but
continent.
yeah, but
No, no,
yeah.
not the right
So are
thing.
France and Germany, and so are France and Spain. So
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
that's intense. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
travel brings out a whole other piece to language. Like just, even sometimes here, you if like if I'm in an Indian restaurant or just anywhere you go where there's like I'll go to New York. There's not a lot of Indians in Philadelphia, but you go to New York, there's Indians everywhere.
Hmm.
You say one or two words and there's this instant like, oh, we're connected.
Yes.
And I actually remember that in workplaces too. And it's so funny. I mean, it's not funny, haha funny, but it's just true that India and Pakistan have this, you know how long, 50 plus years of however long it's been, 70 plus years of war and struggle,
Hmm.
government wise, but they're so close in terms of family and people's families who belong to one or
And
the other,
history
and
and culture.
the
And
history, the
yes.
culture, and the language to some extent,
Hmm.
and the way, all of that worldview. So I was at a workplace where there was someone who was Pakistani, and we realized that we could talk without anybody understanding us.
Oh, how rude.
No, not like, not to be, no, we weren't mean to anybody, but like we could connect, we could have a
Hmm.
bond, and it's ironic because like here, or once you're out of there, that world, we're so close and we can find that bond and we can touch base with each other, and
Hmm.
we can connect, and it's like we can see us as almost different than everybody else in the workplace. But you go to India and suddenly India and Pakistan are like worlds apart.
Yes.
But language
Just
does that. Like
because of that
language,
white man's intervention.
yeah, yeah. Well, that imaginary line that was drawn by the British that cut
That's
off
right.
families, like
That's
we'll save
right.
that for another day because that's a whole
You
thing.
know, when I lived in Chicago, where you came to visit me in Chicago,
Yeah.
across the street from Panit,
Yes.
there was a convenience store that I frequented almost every day. And I mean, they had several items that I would like to buy. I would buy. And one of them was cigarettes. And so I was in there often, and you know how you become familiar with the
Sure.
owners and what have you.
Right.
And so one day I built up the courage because this is a rude question. I said, "Where are you from?"
Mm, okay.
And I think he said something like New York. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But where is your family from?" I mean, I made him tell me. And he said, "Pakistan." He said, and I would have said India. And he said, "You know, they're the same." And I said, "I
Right.
do. I'm so glad you said that." I
Yeah.
hugged him. We became even closer.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
was so wonderful
And
because
they
you can
are. Yeah.
look at the people and see that they're the
Well,
same.
and the culture, and I guess what I would say, like the worldview, like the perspective on life, like we grew up the same. Like
Yes.
when I've had friends from Pakistan who grew up similarly, it's like we had the same life, except that we were in separate
Separate
nations,
regions, separate
separate
countries.
governments. That those are
Hmm.
like government decisions. Um,
Hmm.
but like I think what struck us was that it was the language that connected us, and
Yes.
yeah, yeah, it makes such a big difference.
Yeah. I went to, when I came back from China, one of the things I tried to do was reconnect with the University of Pennsylvania because had been in the linguistics department.
That's right. Yep.
And so my former advisor suggested that I go to Cornell for a few weeks in the summer to the Linguistic Institute. It was
Okay.
at Cornell. And besides all the wonderful things that happened there, I bought a mug, and it was Linguistics of the World. And every language was printed on this mug.
Mm,
And while I worked in Chicago at the Goodman Theater, I kept that mug there at work. And I washed the mug one day. I was coming into work. I was going to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I shook, after I washed it, I shook the water off.
Oh no.
And the cup separated from the handle.
Oh no.
I thought the world had come to an end. I
Hmm.
would not have my language cup. And it
Oh.
broke. And I put it in the
Oh.
trash. Yeah, it
Oh,
was so dear to me while I had it.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's
Imagine every language,
how, like, I mean, I don't even know. I
small
honestly,
print.
well, but I don't even really know if we know all the world's languages. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the linguists, they know pretty much.
They follow it. They follow it.
Yeah, yeah. I was a Noam Chomsky student.
Yeah, yeah.
Noam Chomsky was big time when I was at Penn in linguistics. And it was
Wow.
great. It was great. He's been kind of knocked down a few pegs in more recent
Okay.
scholarship. But yeah, he was the bomb.
Was
He
it?
was the
Yeah.
bomb.
Well, the thing that I have not done well, coming back to this, is I had always anticipated that I would make sure my kids knew Hindi.
Mm,
And I'm losing time now because they're getting older, but it was something that I never thought I would not do it. I just assumed, like, yeah, you got to teach your kids to be bilingual. You raise them up with that.
hmm.
I've done such a bad job of it, but I
But
think
there's still time. There's still
there is time.
time.
There is. I mean, like I said, like I learned how to really read and write in college. It
Hmm.
takes an interest, and they both have some interest because they've got cousins and aunts and uncles in India that they can really only best communicate if they can know some of the language. They know
That's,
words and they recognize some of the alphabet, but
hmm.
really teach them to communicate and express themselves is something that I'm still hoping I can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the fascinations for me when I studied linguistics at Penn was being introduced to Sanskrit.
Mm.
Of course, not knowing how to speak it, but just seeing it written. And, a little Black girl raised in Philadelphia, America, where you don't really, I wasn't introduced to a foreign language until sixth grade
Yeah.
when uh, the principal of my elementary school wanted to hold a French class before school started in the morning
Wow.
because she knew French.
And she thought it would be good for people to
And
know.
so a few of us were chosen and
Mm.
we would show up early. And her name was Mrs. Couch.
Okay.
I don't know that she's still living, but it'd be great if she was watching her. Mrs. Couch.
All right, people,
She
get this
said,
after Mrs. Couch, all right?
that's right. Couch in French is catape. So we had to call her Madame Catape.
Oh my. Love it. Love it. Love it.
So I learned a little French. But what I was getting ready to say, do you remember?
We were talking about Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
Yeah.
That was the epitome because that was the first written language
Yeah.
in the history of man.
Well, there's some conflict around that, but I think it was definitely one of the earliest ones.
One of the earliest. I mean, there's cuneiform, Egyptian cuneiform.
Yeah. And some
But
people say Hebrew. I don't know if
and
there's.
Hebrew too,
Yeah.
yes. But Sanskrit, and the fact that Sanskrit was the language of the Buddhists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Bali.
So I've
Yeah.
always wanted to just be able to interpret one of those passages.
Mm.
And whenever something is written historically and I see the word Sanskrit, I'm interested.
Maybe
This
we
is
both. 'Cause I
authentic
never
stuff.
learned Sanskrit. My brother took Sanskrit.
Did he?
And I was like, nah, who needs to, dead language, blah, blah, blah. I wish I'd taken it. So maybe you and I will, because, I feel like there is time for us. And
Yes.
now they have things like Duolingo. This is not an advertisement, but Duolingo's pretty good. And,
Yes.
I feel like I could still learn some new languages
Oh, yes, we're never too old to learn. We just have to
Yeah.
focus. We have to
My
discipline
mind works
ourselves.
in that way, and I connect it with things I hear, and I feel like I could still do it, and especially because I know Hindi already. I
Hmm.
think the script, yes. So you and I might need to see if we have some time to co-learn and co-teach, because you have the language knowledge for Chinese.
Yes,
Think
and I
that.
do love it. I fell in love with the philosophy of the language, the
Mm.
way they put those characters together and the meaning of them.
Yeah.
It was
Like
very
that
inspiring for me.
ability, yeah, like that, your
Hmm.
linguistic, because I think I've seen one of your lectures where you connected African language to Chinese language
That's
and the
right.
migration history, and it blew me away. It was fascinating.
Hmm.
And yeah, it made me want to learn more
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
we have to keep learning.
Yeah,
It's
we have
great. I was going to say something, but I can't remember now. But yes, language is fascinating. It tunes us into culture
yes.
and spirituality
And history,
and
like
history.
the migration history you talked about in terms of Africa and China. But yeah,
That's right.
spirituality, culture, and the history
Hmm.
of peoples, it's all
Yeah.
connected. And I think language gives us like a window into it.
Yes. We will revisit this topic.
Yes, we will.
This has been good.
This
Is
is
our time up?
why not? Yes, we are. We'll always have more. Please like
Oh,
and
great.
subscribe. Please share with your friends. I hope this was a topic that you found interesting. And if you find languages interesting, tell us what you're into, because
Yeah,
we keep learning more.
fabulous.
Take care.
Love you, Kavita. Take
Love you
care.
too.